Audio check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
5, 6.
7, 8.
It works. All right. And okay, so now we're live. Yay! And I don't know what that really means today because today's going to be all over the place. So I guess the first thing we want to talk about is the new skill system, or the possible new skill system, because the players have to approve it. Have you had a chance to look it over yet?
I did, and there was one thing that concerned me. Can you send a link in Discord so that I can look it over again?
Yeah. I'm going to pop it. I'm actually opening it up right now, so that when we're talking about it, people aren't going to be going, "What the heck are you talking about?"
Well, in that case, I'll just look at the stream and
Oh, well, that'll work too.
direct you to my concerns.
Okay, so there we go. Skills for specialists. Yeah, I made it public, but I didn't quite actually announce it and put it onto the new home system straight up just yet.
So, in the specializations, the not known use the parent all players skill without proficiency bonus at one difficulty level higher, and then familiar gain ability modifier for rolls, and then
Yes.
proficient, then you get to add proficiency.
Yes.
So you have to go 3 levels in before you have proficiency.
Yes.
So on not known, is it you don't get your stat bonus and it's a difficulty higher?
On it's not known, you don't get your you don't get to, it's one difficulty level higher and you don't get proficiency. So for example, let me come down here and show this. If we look at our characters, like let me just pull up a character. I will pull up feedback. There we go. There we go. So when you create your character, the character ends up with the standard set of skills. That's just the standard D&D 5e system, which is not too bad. Essentially, what it means that all characters, all players, are essentially pretty well trained. I mean, they've got a wide breadth of experience. They've kind of gotten a really good kickoff in life, right? They had a good mentor or something like that. So under the normal system, if you don't have proficiency, all proficiency does is add your level proficiency, right? So
right.
P-Back right now is a level 3 sorcerer in general, and that means he has a +2 proficiency. So on his skills, when he's proficient with the skill, he gets to add his ability bonus plus his level proficiency. And the level proficiency is the thing that's going to kind of keep going up as he goes up, right? So it gets better and better and better. So that means that although he has some athletics background, he hasn't spent hours and hours and hours doing, sprinting through races and doing power lifts and stuff like that.
Right.
But
he
on the
just
other
has his raw natural ability.
Right, but he has done some. I'm likely he got the 101 and the 102 course, right? So it's like he's familiar with it, and so this is what familiar means. Familiar means you've got it as a skill set, and you get your ability bonus to go with it. That means that it's the skill is actually on your character sheet. That's
okay.
So then, but on the other hand, because of the rules and his background and other stuff like that, he did spend a heck of a lot of time studying under the witch doctors and studying the lore and memorizing the spells. So he's got Arcana down pretty darn good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for that one, he gets his ability bonus plus his stuff like that, and that's because he spent the time doing the work, and in spending the time doing the work, that's his history, right? So the assumption is he spent like 2 or 3 years where he was training in logic to get his insight and Arcana, and at the same time he was doing some acrobatic work and stuff like that. That's because of his backgrounds and the class that he's trained in, right? Because he was trained as an entertainer and as a sorcerer. So he's got that training. Clear so far? Clear as mud,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you look at say we'll look at animal handling or any of these, so everyone all players have the base skills, and so what that means is that you start off with that skill and you've got it. Now, because of your background, I've already said in the rules, it's like some player backgrounds also provide some writing of some type of animal class, which basically puts that automatically. So you automatically there's a few extra specialty skills that might come in if the player talks about or asks for it. So what happens is now I can say, hey, you're attempting to ride your animal in combat, right? You're attempting to swing swords, control shields, control animal, not lose everything, and be able to concentrate enough to sling your spells and stuff, right? That's not something that you train for to ride the animal. That's very specialized training and requires some practice. So, as a game master, I might say, okay, well, it's like I'm gonna charge into the combat on my thing and swing my staff to hit the ogre with my staff, and I'm gonna and as a bonus action I'm gonna hold my shield up against them. I'm gonna use my shield for this. I'm like, okay, you're riding into combat, so that's a that would be I'd say a DC 10, because that's kind of like you're not doing anything super fancy. You're not trying to jump the horse or anything. So I'll say, okay, that's a DC 10 combat riding roll. And then the player would go, okay, well, I don't have combat riding. Oh, okay. Well, in that case, that makes it a DC 15 roll against animal handling, but you don't get proficiency. So,
But what if I was proficient in animal handling, just not combat riding?
no, because this is a specialization. So the fact that you don't have the training for that skill means that although you kind of know what you're doing, you're not you don't have the skills necessary to be able to add your level and your training into it.
Even
Because
if I was proficient with animal handling, or is there no animal handling now? There is
no,
just those
there's
four
not
skills
there's
instead.
animal handling now, but I'm actually looking at this from a standpoint of no, you don't get your proficiency. So if you look up here on the modifiers, so if you're going for you have no specialization familiarity. You use the parent player skill with the ability modifier, but no proficiency bonus against one difficulty level higher. So yes, that makes doing that particular action, which requires a specialization skill, that much harder.
So what scenario would there be that if I were proficient in animal handling but not any of the specializations, what scenario would there be where I would get my proficiency for my animal handling role?
Well, so all the specialties for the animal handling is all around specialized driving and riding capabilities. So I rush into the barn to save the king's stallions from and try and calm them down. Okay, that's an animal handling role. I attempt to soothe the dogs, or I attempt to corral the cats, or I attempt to control the falcon. Okay, those are all animal handling roles, right? So it doesn't mean that we're not using animal handling. Still comes into play a lot more often than specializations, because you're not going to be riding things into combat or driving things around. Most of the time you're going to be using the main skill. So your proficiency in there still comes into play.
How many specializations do we get?
Well, that's the thing that I was kind of playing with, because I was talking with some other people about this, and they're like, okay, I can't remember. Maybe you can remind me. But they said that there's one or two other classes in D&D 5e that the whole reason for playing that class is because those are the classes that get a whole bunch of extra skills as they level up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what those are, so I didn't actually have a chance to go digging into the player's handbook to really find out,
I know.
well, how much more of the
I know.
skills are they getting?
I know Bard is. I think Bard gets 2 extra skills. I think they get 2 more skills than regular. They get 2 skills that they get double proficiency in, and then all other skills that they're not proficient in, they get half their proficiency in.
Okay.
Um, and I think rogues also get extra skills compared to most other classes. But most
Hmm.
classes, you get 2 skills from your class and 2 skills from your background.
Right. So I don't. I think all of that still comes into play. So I mean, all of that comes into play. So all the skills and stuff like that that you get from the player's handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide for creating the character and the standard character creation with the backgrounds and such like that, all those fall into play. And then if the backgrounds would seem like it might add a specialization, we'll put some sugar coating on that one. Maybe hand out one or two of those depending on the background. After that, the way you gain more is all players. All players get essentially half of their intelligence bonus in new skill points or new skill additions per level, and that's not rounded. So that
Half
means,
their intelligence modifier?
yeah,
That's low.
you think so?
I think so. If you're
Because
adding in how many specializations are you adding in?
um,
Because
this
it
is
looked like quite a lot.
this is the full list. Well, yes, but the point is um, I kind of I don't want, like the Mary Janes or the Superman, right,
Yeah.
in the campaign.
Well, let,
So
let, let me here, I'll give you an example.
sure,
Harbeck. He has an intelligence of 10, so he has a modifier of 0.
right.
So
So he
I
get
get
so
no specializations ever.
he get no. You get the minimum of one,
So 1 specialization per level.
right? Well, it's not specialization; it's one skill point per level. And the way those are spent are, if you want to add a toolkit, you can take a toolkit from not known to proficient to double proficiency. If you want to add a specialization, you go from not known to familiar. That's 1 point to proficient to double proficiency. So if you want to get to be able to add your proficiency bonus in a specialized skill, it essentially costs you 2 skill points. So it would take 2 levels.
So it would take 2 levels to become
Proficient.
moderately competent at
No,
something.
no. I think that's from what I've been experiencing as we've been playing 5e for the last 6 months. Is this just the base skill sets because of the way the system's flattened everything all out? You're not moderately competent. You're very competent. You're
Um,
you're not you're not you're not you know, it's not like you're a master level, right? It's not like you can go and create beautiful works of art or perfectly control every situation. But just the fact that you have the skill plus your ability bonus, with most of the rolls being against a DC 10 or a DC 15. So you're looking at, if we just look at the NPC, where is it at? Here it is. So he has a +1, +2, +2, +1 on almost every roll he's got. against a DC 10 or a DC 15, medium to hard. So that means that he's going to succeed, more than half the time, and that's without any training or any specialization training. So the fact that you don't have that skill, it doesn't mean you can't make the attempt. It just means that now there's a reason to seek out experts, and there's also things where your character can grow to be the master disguise artist or the con man. I'm thinking like A-Team, right? Yeah,
Well, there's
you have.
there's certain things like just like splitting up a skill into like 6 specializations is kind of concerning to me, especially when there's like certain things that I feel are just inherent with the skill. For example, athletics, you have swimming listed as a specialization. I feel like swimming is like a big component of athletics. It's like one of the basic things that athletics covers, which in my mind is generally like climbing and swimming are like the two most common things you'll come across with that.
So I personally am in like in real life. I can count on. I know I know enough people that I need more than two hands to count that cannot swim.
Right, but they wouldn't be proficient in athletics.
But two of them are two of them are track stars.
And they can't swim at all?
No, they don't know how to swim. They've never learned.
That would be surprising to me.
Well, you also grew up in a place that had lots of water. So, I mean, yeah. So swimming is very common in this area, but it's not as common as you might think. But that
But
again,
also, like,
that also means it doesn't mean that you're not. It doesn't mean that you can't. Like, so there's the thing is just swimming across something does not require a skill check.
it should.
Swimming across a river carrying a load would require a skill check, but that would be something that would be easy. If it's a fast moving river, it would be hard. If you're trying to do it in armor, now it gets now we're talking that's where you hit the specialization level, right?
Yeah, but then there's also like stealth, where like you have it broken up into rural, urban, and wilderness. So I would have to choose stealth as a skill and then also put specializations into the different kinds of environments just to get proficiency.
Yes. So how do you think we can how do you think this could be fixed? Do you think there should be more skill
So I
points to let people
I
get to it
think that there
faster?
should either be more skill points or the things that you could specialize need to be cut down into like a lot more like niche things. Um, because like stealth is stealth. I could see like you could specialize in shadowing someone. I could see that would make sense, but stealth specializing in rural or stealth specializing in urban, like I feel like training stealth and getting your proficiency in stealth would just allow you to be able to hide well. But like shadowing somebody and like staying hidden, like I could see that being an extra specialization that you would need to train in.
Yeah, so I can see bringing urban and rural together. So I don't know what you call that. I guess you call that populated or something like that, or maybe just calling it urban. Um,
It just feels like if I was someone who wanted to do stealth, I would have to spend a lot of skill points just to be able to like do stealth decently, and then I won't be able to do anything else.
well, sure. I mean, but I mean, because what I'm trying to go, like I'm not trying, like, again, I'm trying to avoid the players having it amazingly such an amazingly breadth of skills that they're just unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, I know it's fantasy. I know we're flinging magic, but um, um, maybe if I come up with instead of doing the intelligence modifier, maybe I could just do something like maybe we can come up with a list of points based off of the intelligence, where we start with one, and kind of step up a little bit. Because the other thing is I this list is pared down from a couple. There's I actually had like deleted like half the specializations, because I really tried to I wanted to try and condense it down, because I want to keep it mostly flat, because I want to make it quick and easy and easily playable. But
Mm.
so I don't want to make it overly complex, and so I'm trying to avoid that
Yeah.
super complexity.
I
So
feel like
I think you're right. I think there's too much breakdown
it
here.
yeah, because like it feels like you're going back to as many skills, if not more, than 3.5 had. And the way that 3.5 had it, like per level, you get like a set number of skill points plus your intelligence modifier every single level. So like if you were a skillsy class like a rogue, you would get like six skill points plus your intelligence modifier every level.
Oof.
And since they had so many skills, it's fine. Like
Okay. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
getting
Okay.
a lot of skills, but it's all over the place. But like adding that many skills and then saying you get one per level
Yeah.
is a little
I can see that. I mean, the whole point of playing is to have fantasies, right? I mean, we're
yeah.
supposed
I
to be
feel
being
like
heroic.
doing that like especially like breaking out like a lot of the core uh what I would think is like core tenets of these different skills makes it feel like Harbeck's going from somebody who's like pretty good at like strength based things and like maybe okay at other things to like I can do a thing pretty decently and nothing else.
Oh no, I don't want you to have that feeling at all. I mean, so um, but I mean,
Because it definitely, and I do see where you're coming from. It definitely does get wild, especially with like some of the things like bards. Like they they get to a point where they can do everything with like pretty solid competency.
right. Um, okay. Well, so maybe we can pare some of these things down. I did. Unfortunately, I really like this list over here. I, I really like having the various things. But I was already actually thinking of just saying of combining forests, grasslands, and jungles and shrublands,
Uh
uh,
huh.
to just make that Arctic, because Arctic and deserts are highly unique biomes.
Yeah. I the only thing that I another thing that I could see, but it kind of goes against what you're sort of wanting is rather than making it so you can't do it well at all until you put specialization points into it, making it so that like you can do the thing normally, but you get bonuses for every skill point you put into it. So like if I had survival, I could roll survival and like get it at like a regular DC, but then when I if I had survival deserts and we happen to be in a desert, then maybe like lower the DC by something or get advantage or something just because I happen to have that special extra thing for surviving in the deserts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that feels like it would be a lot more fun and like balanced. And that way I wouldn't feel like I'm
So
having to put uh that way I wouldn't feel like I'm having to put all of my proficiencies into things that I feel I need as a adventurer who is a paladin, you know? just to operate.
Okay, so can you walk me through that again? So let's talk.
Okay, so
Go
say,
either stealth or survival or sleight of hand, because those are the
yeah, let's
three.
do survival. So
Right.
say we're in the woods and I need to like gather supplies to create a camp or something, then that would be a regular survival check with regular DCs and whatnot. But if I
Right.
happen to have the specialization for forests, then that would either like lower the DC or make it so that I get advantage because I happen to put my skill points or my proficiency or extra specialization into forests and I just so happen to be in that forest. So it feels more like a reward for being familiar with forests rather than like a punishment for not having put my specialization into survival forest.
Hmm. Okay, so you're suggesting the forest gives you a gives um, reward. Okay.
Yeah, so like keeping everything like a base level, maybe like increasing the DC. So like rather than everything being DC 10, maybe everything being DC 15. Um, and I could just roll survival like normal, like I have proficiency in survival, so I would get my proficiency bonus and my stat bonus. But then if I happen to have survival forests, because I decided to put that specialization in there, then that would lower the DC to 10 or make it so I have advantage or something.
Hmm. Okay, so giving advantage. I thought about the advantage, but I looked at the math on the advantage. And advantage is two. Advantage is a massive. I mean,
Advantage is very powerful, yeah.
it's a massive bump up. I like the idea of giving the reward because that I like that. But um, I'm trying. I'm worried about the playability, to be honest, because
Hmm.
I'm thinking because what I'm thinking is I'm thinking well I crafted this thing so that it would it would be a nice overlay on top of the existing rules around how you use your skills and abilities and ability checks. So all the rules that are in the player's handbook, all the rules are on the Dungeon Master's Guide, those all apply. So you can have
Yeah.
two people combined up to get advantage. You can have the group do the group where the two best players for the group make the roll, and that so long as more than half succeed, then as a group you totally succeed at whatever you're trying to do, right? Which is like super advantage.
Hmm.
But still, it's all there. And so that's why I was trying to make this look at that because the reason I'm trying to strip off the level proficiency, like if the situation is very specifically like gathering. Okay, so in a desert you need water, right? So let's look at that situation. So it's like, okay, so you're in the desert, you're lost in the desert, you've lost your supplies, you're running out of water, and you're like, I need to find water. Okay, well,
Hmm.
do do you have desert survival? No. Does that reduce your ability to do all the other survival stuff? Trap animals, catch food, stuff like that. No, but finding the water. And if I didn't strip off that proficiency, and this is actually what I was thinking about was you don't have forest survival or desert survival, so plus one the if I increase um, the DC by one level, uh, so then that takes it up one level. But if I let you keep your proficiency bonus,
Uh-huh.
it erases that.
Right. So
Right, because
what?
if you have characters, so like let's just take this just a little, let's just take this to a maximizer, right? So let's say
Hmm.
some character has double proficiency on survival,
Okay.
right? So and they're like level 5, So by level
Mhm.
5, they could vary in this system, because you got skill points to spend. You can get your double proficiency, right? So you give yourself
Mhm.
double proficiency instead of buying proficiency in deserts. You buy double proficiency on survival. So now at level 5, you've got +6 just from your double proficiency,
Mhm.
plus your skill bonus, which is another +3 or 4, or your ability bonus. So now you have +10 because you have that proficiency. So that means
Yeah.
that even though you have to make a desert survivor roll, you have +10. You can't miss a 10 or less, so you have to roll better than a 5
Well, so
to succeed.
that's why I'm saying just like bump up the DC for everything. So like say that like that same scenario, say instead of a DC 10 because that seems pretty trivial for most adventurers, make that a DC 20, say.
Yeah, well,
And
so
like
so like
say I have a +5 for my survival because I've trained survival and I have a 2 in wisdom or something.
right.
So like I'm not really familiar with deserts, so this is going to be a tough roll for me. But if I had survival deserts, rather than a DC 20, it's make it like a DC 15 or something. So now I have that bonus for things, but then I don't feel like I'm getting punished for not having that foresight of like maybe I'm going to be in deserts, so I'm going to put that proficiency into deserts, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Yeah.
could totally see like something like you're familiar with survival skills, uh, so you have a basic idea, but you're not familiar with the terrain. So it's going to be a difficult role, but you do have some survival instincts, and you've been trained in survival. So like you have a general idea of where to look. But if you were specifically trained in deserts, it's going to be a lot easier for you.
Okay.
Because I think that like the way that it's like structured now just feels like a punishment. It's like
Right.
you guys
Right.
are too good. I'm taking away your ability to do
Well,
everything
yeah.
unless you really knuckle down and try.
I'm nerfing the hell out of the players. That's what I'm doing, really.
Yeah.
And
Whereas like if you just raise the difficulty of everything, that doesn't feel as much like a punishment,
well,
and
yeah,
then lower the
it's
difficulty a
something you
little
can't
bit.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, lower the difficulty a little bit so that like if you are proficient in that, so it makes it easier to get there, but it still is going to require a roll. Because like even if like same scenario, say I have survival deserts and I still have that +5, the DC went down to 15, so I still have to roll a 10, so it's still a 50-50 shot,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still a lot easier to get than if I didn't have survival deserts and the DC was 20.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that totally. I like that. So okay. So you're saying if you have the survival, so if you have the skill, then lower the by one. Lower the DC by one.
Right. Yeah, if I have proficiency in survival, don't take that away from me. Like whenever I'm in some sort of survival scenario, I can still roll my stat with the proficiency.
Okay. So then
Just
what happens if
raise
you
the
what
DC
hap-
up.
So you're also suggesting that I get rid of this familiar stuff. So you just go straight to proficient. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, but only if you're proficient in the parent skill.
Ah, okay. So you have to be proficient.
Yeah, because I feel like this way, like if I'm trained in survival and I get put into a desert, my survival training means nothing anymore because we're in a desert. Even though my survival skills would still apply somewhat, just not as effectively. So I would still be proficient, but if I had deserts, then I would be double proficient or the
Right. Yeah,
DC
yeah,
would
yeah.
come down or something.
I like this. This. I like this because one, it flips it to being a reward system as opposed to making it feel like a punishment system, which I really agree with. I think that will make it more fun and it will feel better all the way
Yeah.
around. Okay, cool.
And
Well,
then that way I feel perfectly fine getting like one proficiency per level because it's like, oh, I'm getting rewarded. I can do a little bit better climbing with my acrobatics or a little bit better swimming with my athletics.
Fair enough. Okay. And then, okay, and so then by doing it that way, because the other thing is I also want to make it easy to track. So doing it the way you suggest still lets you put it into your character sheet, and we can just put it in the character sheet, click proficient, and it will still get, and you'll get the right roll, which is saves time, makes it easy, which is the other thing I'm after.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's really good. Okay, so I'm gonna have to rewrite this a little bit, so we can't bring this in today. Bummer. That's okay. It's coming. We know it.
Also, are we level 3 or level 2? Because I think I'm level 2.
So we should be leveling up to level 3, which is something else we're going to be doing when we hit town. So everyone should be level 3. Let me see here. Yeah, because you guys definitely earned it. Oh boy, did you ever! And then once we get everyone leveled up to level 3, then I was going to I will then be able to use a party tracker to start awarding. Now that I've figured out how to do the rewards, I can actually start handing out the experience points, and I can see I figured out the math, which unfortunately took me a little too long. So that's just the thing. Oh, one other question. So I like that. So then, looking at the toolkits, do you see what I was doing with that?
Yeah, that makes a
Okay.
lot of sense.
Right. So the toolkit rule that I have here though really gives you a huge reward, right? Because if you have proficiency in the skill, so if you have proficiency in the skill roll requires a toolkit, and you have proficiency in that toolkit, you get to add your proficiency bonus again.
Wait, say that again?
Yeah, I figured you might have missed that one. So okay, so that maybe I might need to take that out. So basically, if you let's see here, I'm trying to find it. So if you do not have the required tools, it basically ups at a difficulty level.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you have proficiency, like you know the tools, but the tools have been stolen, or you've lost them in the river, or whatever, right? You don't have the tools, but because you've improvised them. You're using improvised tools, so that doesn't bump it up one difficulty level, but there is a -3 modifier for that one because it's you've got something that will work, but it's not going to work as good because it's not the actual tool, right? I'm going to use.
Right.
I have a hammer. It looks like a nail to me now.
Yeah.
Right. Um, and then if you have double proficiency in the specialization and double proficiency with the tools, you get 3 times your proficiency bonus, which is
Seems. Yeah,
because
that seems a little much.
you get proficiency because you got double proficiency in the tools,
Mm-hmm.
so you get your proficiency bonus for that, and you have so if you have double proficiency. So what this really boils down to now, if we're shifting to this reward system, which I'm thinking through now, is if you have double proficiency in the tools, that means you get to add your proficiency bonus in addition to any other modifiers you have for the roll, including proficiency in the skill. So, example. let's say you are going to do some kind of forging stuff, right? So you're going to do a smithy thing,
Mhm.
right? So you have proficiency in um, the professional skill armor smith, right?
Okay.
So now you have proficiency as a armor smith. So you get to make the roll with proficiency, right? So it's like, okay, I'm gonna try and repair my greaves, which have holes in them because of the arrows, right?
Hmm.
Okay, well, so now, okay, so you try and repair your greaves. It's like, okay, well, you have proficiency as an armorer, so therefore it's one damage, it's one DC difficulty class lower, right?
Hmm.
So it's going to drop from say a 20 to a 15. And you have proficiency, so you're adding your proficiency to the roll, right?
Hmm.
And you have double proficiency in smithy tools because you've really studied how the tools work. So then you get to add your proficiency again for that roll.
So the way that I was thinking about it is essentially like in my mind, like if you say for that, like if you don't have tools, makeshift tools or professional tools, then you can't make the roll. Like you
Correct.
need smithy tools to work on armor. You can't just punch it into being a well-fitting suit of armor.
Right,
So
but you
you need the
can
tools,
improvise, right?
right? And so like basically you have craft armor or whatever it is. Let me see, where's your armor skill?
It's a professional skill, so it's a special thing, right? But
Okay. So basically like you have and that's also like a very specific profession, so that should be
yeah,
like its own whole thing. But
yeah, but it's not something I don't want. I'm not going to give everyone professional level. So basically, everyone's either going to have a special professional skill or something like that, and the professional skills are either going to be strength or wisdom based, and they're going to be based off your background, right?
yeah.
So
So I think a easier example for what I'm thinking is like the sleight of hand and then lock picking thieves tools.
right,
So like you can have thieves tools and you don't specifically have lock picking, but you can make a roll at a higher DC for sleight of hand with your proficiency and your stat.
right.
But then you can specialize into lock picking. You still need the thieves tools to do it, but now it's a difficulty class lower. And the tools itself is not necessarily something that you could specialize into. Just
Okay, so
the act of using the tools.
just completely remove that extra bonus. Okay, because I was thinking, because one of the tropes that I was trying to get to was, like you have in almost every book I've ever read. There's you have the professor of magic or the thieves guilds superstar master, right? Or John Wick, right?
Yeah.
John Wick is extremely proficient at killing people,
Yeah.
right? But you have some character who just kind of walks in and is like you have the thief who is such a no lock, no safe can stop them, right? They are
Hmm.
they're just so good, and normal locks don't even like they don't even break stride, right? As far
Hmm.
as far as you can tell, they reached out for the door and it just opened. Um, and so I wanted to let players get to that if they wanted to. So that's why I was saying, well, if you want to go to the double proficiency on tools, that will give you, you have the ability to, if you have double proficiency in skill and double proficiency in tools, that will literally give you 3x your proficiency bonus, which will let you become that unbelievable master of something very specific, and it took you a number of levels to get there, but you can still get there. Um,
Hmm.
But if you think that's too much, I can just remove the double proficiency and just say you either know the tools or you don't.
You can also make it so that you can't get double proficiency in something until you reach level like 6 or something like that. Then you
Yeah.
unlock the ability to unlock double proficiency or something like that.
Is there anything else like that in 5e? Because I haven't seen anything like that in 5e.
There isn't in 5e, but there is in Pathfinder 2. They have a system like that where you are like you choose a skill and you become like proficient, and then at a certain level, if you are proficient, you can train in that skill again and become a master in that skill
Mm-hmm.
and get like a double bonus, and then later you can like do it again, and like there's like I think 3 or 4 degrees for each skill that you would get your like bonus for.
Mm.
So it's not really existent in 5th edition as far as I know. There's
Yeah.
just like the one class that will give you double proficiency in 2 skills.
I'll tell you what.
But Pat,
How about if we just leave this one and we'll just leave that one and see how it plays out.
leave it.
Let's do some play testing. So it means once you I like your rules on you can't get proficiency in something until you have proficiency in the parent, right?
Yeah.
So the same the same thing can go for the tools, which is you can't get proficiency in the tools until you have proficiency in the parent one. So like if thieves tools are for sleight of hand, then you have to have sleight of hand, right? You have to be proficient here before you can even start working on that. And then I'm gonna I want to leave this because I want to like maybe I'd be willing to create a couple characters and maybe run a few NPCs or something like that up to that and see how that plays out. It might be something. It might be something we eke out again. We might eke that out, but I want to leave that in play because I really, I mean, me personally, I've always enjoyed playing the characters that were like extraordinary at something because that's all they threw their points into, right? And it took them to a level that no one else could match. So you come up against them in that one, and yeah, I'm fully well aware that that's probably going to go into stuff like climbing or lock picking or something like that. It's going to go into one of them. It's going to go into one of the more nefarious skills because that's just where our minds go because it's a fantasy.
Yeah.
But still, or on the other hand, I mean, hell, for all I know, you could decide that your paladin's going to become such an expert in deserts that he has deserts and desert survival kit proficiency at double proficiency levels, and he is the one man on the planet that can survive the circumventing desert.
Yeah. I'll be the leader of the John Wick organization that's just inexplicably in the desert for some reason.
Yeah, for some unknown, total weird reason. Like, how the hell are they surviving out there? I don't know. They stripped him of everything and threw him into the desert, and he walked out.
Yeah.
Right, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so it's there. I will make these modifications, and we'll come back to this next week.
Okay.
And maybe add that in. Do you want to level up, Baz? You want to level up?